Alright guys, so I just want to show you how to kind of put the finishing touches on your scene here, and the way we're going to do that is by adding in our little character right here. Very similar to how we composited those fog assets in earlier. So I'll just get started here. I'm going to make a new folder and we'll just call it character standing, and we'll go into the folder here. Okay, so what I've done here is I've rendered out 2 clips, and now this is just a still image because I didn't have any like green screen footage or anything like that I could easily key out. So I just wanted, for demonstration purposes, I want to show you how to do this with a video so that you can actually composite a real video into your Unreal Engine scene. But I'm just using a still image. However, I rendered it as a video, so it's going to work the same way as if you guys are using a video. So I have just, this clip that is about 10 seconds long, same length as my sequence in Unreal Engine, and I have him masked out here. And then I also have this clip as well, which is just an alpha matte of the same shot. And all I've done is just taken it and applied a completely white fill to the layer so that it shows us our alpha, because Unreal can actually interpolate. If we plug this clip into the opacity mask in our material, it will only keep the regions that are in white. So what we can do is import our clips here. We can just bring both of these in. I'm going to rename this so it's not confusing. So what we want to do here is right click, and we're going to create a new media player. Okay, and we're going to click on video output media texture asset. We're going to click OK, and we're going to call this Max tutorial. Okay, and that's going to create a video texture. So if we double click on this, it's going to bring up this little dialog box, and we want to go down here and find our video clip, and we're going to double click on that. We're going to see it displayed right here, and we're going to click on save. Okay, we're going to make another media texture. So we're going to right click, go to media player, and do the same process here. Name this, and we're just going to call it alpha, and this is going to be the alpha media texture. So we're going to go down here, find our clip, and we'll double click it, save. I'm going to pause this. Okay, so now we have both our alpha and our base color essentially. So what we're going to do is make a new plane here, and we're going to just drag a plane out into our scene. Same thing as we did with the fog cards. We're just going to make it 16 by 9 because that is the aspect ratio of our footage. We're going to lock this so that it stays right, and now we're going to just rotate this up. And I'm going to get out of our camera here, and we're just going to kind of rotate this towards the camera. And now what we can do is take our video and drag it out onto this plane. So it's going to create a texture. The next thing we want to do is double click this, go in here, and we're going to drag our alpha clip into here. So we're going to take the RGB here, and we're going to plug it into the opacity mask right here. Okay, so that's not going to do anything at the moment because we need to change this to a masked layer. So if we go down here, we can find our blend mode, and we're going to just change this to masked. And now that enables the opacity mask, and now you can see we actually have our masked alpha here. We just don't have the texture displaying it because we have to set that up in our media player. So if we go down here and, in our sequence settings. So if we go into our sequence, I actually have it already loaded up here. So we'll go into our sequencer, and we're going to click on track, and we're going to do a new media track. So it's going to add another media track. We're also going to do another media track. Okay, so we're going to do 2 media tracks here. On the first one, we're going to do the base color. So we're going to do the Max tutorial. I'm just going to move this back to the beginning of our sequence. All right there. And then we're also going to add the media for this one, which will be the alpha. We're going to go in here and right click on this one. We're going to go to edit section, and then go and find our media texture that we need, which will be, it'll match up. So we're going to do Max tutorial video because that matches up with this media texture that we created. And then we're going to go and right click on this one, go to edit section, and then we're going to do Max tutorial alpha. Okay. So now that those are set up, basically what that's saying is that these media textures should play at this time in the sequencer. So it'll be consistent every time you play back this sequence. Otherwise, it's not going to always show up properly. So if we drag this out, the full length of our sequence, now what we can do is go into our texture here, and now you can see we have our texture displaying properly. So we just need to save this, and then it should update right here. There we go. And now we just have to scale this. So I'm going to scale this to like probably 3.7, I think is a good scale. And then we'll move this into position, which will match up with where we originally had put our little character representation. Now you can see what's great about this technique, and you can use this for any video clip. So what's great about this technique is that now you can see we actually have a proper shadow on the ground. So that's nice. If you don't want the shadow, you can always just turn off cast shadows. That is a nice perk of using this technique as opposed to, something else. I'm just going to slightly rotate this so that it is properly aligned with the camera. And now if we go back to our camera, we now have our guy composited in, and he has a realistic looking shadow on the ground that matches with the light in the scene. So that's a really simple way to accomplish this, and we can close out of this. So what's important here is that you add these media players to your sequencer. If you don't do this, this will eventually update. So if you save your texture or whatever and you save your material, when it updates, your guy will disappear because you're not telling Unreal to play the footage at a certain time in your sequence. So this way, your video will play back consistently every time you play back your sequence. So, if this were an actual video clip, it would play back at the proper frame at the proper time each time in the sequence. So that's important because this is a game engine. It's not so much, made for video sequences or, cinematics. It is made for cinematics, but it's less so than something like After Effects or something, because that is solely made for video editing. So that's important. And also just make sure you have your video clip and your alpha matched up properly. Otherwise, you're going to get some weird results because the timing will be off between the two clips, and then it's not going to match up properly. So just make sure that that is synced up, and you should be good. This is a really good technique and very useful.